What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So we are now about one day out from one of the most anticipated shows of the year, and the main reason for that is it's just too unpredictable at this point. The Tampa Pro show, which has such a unique lineup, and the physique updates, they just keep on coming in. So let's take a look at one of the favorites to win this show. About 2 days out from this year's Tampa Pro show, Jwet, whom for whatever reason did not get the hype that he fully deserves. Because on paper, Jwet is the highest placing Olympian in this lineup. He not only beat Bruno Santos, but also the defending Tampa Pro champion, John Da Rosa, at the Olympia last year. And we know John is one of those guys who never misses his mark. He's gonna be 100% on, and probably one of the most perfectly peaked guy in this year's entire Tampa Pro lineup. I mean, he always is. And it is kind of surprising not to see him even in the top 3 in many of the predictions which are being made for this year's Tampa Pro. So John isn't one of those guys who have a pretty looking physique. Don't get me wrong, he's very aesthetic, very proportionate, but he isn't what we call having a pretty looking physique. He has a tons of muscle and he always comes in super shredded. And we are expecting him to come in a few pounds heavier than what we saw at his last show, which was the Olympia last year. So this was a very long off season for John. And just because some of the comparisons that he has posted earlier during the prep, it is pretty evident that he has put on some new muscle and he's gonna come in a bit heavier than the Olympia last year. So do you guys also think that Jwet is being underestimated for this upcoming show? Because at the end of the day, all these predictions, they mean absolutely nothing. And the guy who brings his 100%, he's gonna come out on top. So let me know, what are your picks for this year's Tampa Pro? Who do you guys have winning? Before you scroll or blink too hard, have you subscribed yet? Please don't make me bring out the emotional blackmail. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon. It's free, it's painless, and that makes me look way cooler than I actually am. Stuart Sutherland aka Beef Stew also checks in, just 1 day out from this year's Tampa Pro. Another guy who was least talked about in the build-up of this year's Tampa Pro. So kinda funny that haircut, that makes him look like a different person altogether. So Stu landed in Tampa, and the man is looking very dry, with 24 hours to go. So in the past, Stu has been guilty of getting ready for the show way too early, and then spending weeks into a contest-ready shape. And that was the case before the New York Pro last year. And that is why he completely burnt out for his next couple of shows. And that is exactly what made him go for a different strategy this time. And this time he is going to be ready on the day of the show. So when you dissect his physique, you clearly understand why Stu isn't in the discussion of a guy who are likely gonna be in the top 4 in this show. He just isn't gonna be the most heavily muscled guy in this year's Tampa Pro lineup, nor is he the most aesthetic guy out there. But that being said, that crab most muscular shot on him, that is looking very impressive. So he is also one of those guys who is coming back to the stage after a gap of 1 year. And the man certainly looks at his all-time best here. So Stu, when he is truly on, when he comes in at his 100%, he's a very dangerous bodybuilder. I mean, just take a look at all the guys whom he was able to beat at the New York Pro last year. Quentin Beastwood, Timbo Desham, and Emir. And interestingly, 2 of these guys, they are also doing this show tomorrow. So it's going to be very interesting how an improved version of Stu shows up and how he compares to some of these guys who are genetically way superior than him. So Jordan Hutchinson emerged as one of the most promising guy from this Tampa Pro build-up because he was continuously putting out some awesome looking physique updates. So the last few updates that he posted, they were taken in Ben Pekulski's MI40 gym, and that gym is known for having some of the most insane lighting setup out there. Now that being said, he is without a shadow of a doubt one of the most improved bodybuilder from last year to this year. Now hopefully he also does something to hide that lower abdominal distension, especially by posing a bit differently, because other than that, every other mandatory on this guy is looking very impressive. So that side chest and the back lat spread, they are looking to be the most improved shots on him this time. You can clearly see the added density all over his frame this time, which is something that is still missing on a guy like Quentin Beastwood. So a lot of that is attributed to Jordan's training style. And do not be surprised if Jordan shows up with an addition of 5 to 10 pounds of pure quality muscle on his frame tomorrow. Now I am so glad him and Jwet, they both decided to jump into Tampa Pro this year because originally both these guys were aiming for Texas Pro. So all the updates that Jordan has posted during the last couple of weeks, that makes him one of the most ready looking physique for this upcoming show. So let's see how much of that translates on the stage, because we have all seen it time and time again that the competitors looking absolutely insane in the gym lighting leading into the show, and the final look on the stage that comes out very disappointing. But that being said, the last two shows that Jordan did last year, he came in absolutely ripped and he was able to place in the top 3. So he's gonna be one of the favorites to win this show. The beast Akim Williams checking in at 10 weeks out of this year's Mr. Olympia. So those arms on him, they keep on getting bigger and bigger and also better and better with every passing year. And this is one of Akim's very good shot, as the man has that great amount of size, plus amazing overall aesthetics top to bottom. A good definition of a classic looking mass monster. A guy with humongous size, but at the same time, a very tiny waistline. But that being said, we know his most impressive shots, they are his side shots. Very few guys in the men's open division have that amount of detail and that kind of separation on the side of the legs as Akim does. Rubiel Mosquera aka Nexilla, he has some nasty looking detail in the side leg. And the other guys who come to mind, they are Derek Lunsford and the Mutant. And speaking of Rubiel, that Akim versus Rubiel matchup, that is going to be one hell of an awesome comparison at this upcoming Mr. Olympia. Although Akim has the ability to get very dry and very shredded, and the man has been very consistent in that regard, especially since he started working with Chris Aceto as his coach. But that being said, it took Akim a lot of time to properly figure that out, to peak 100%, to come in truly shredded. And the only weak shot on Akim, that is the back double biceps. And we know Rubiel, that has an amazing back shot. And not just the back double biceps, his back lat spread is also awesome. So Akim was top 10 at the Olympia last year, and he could have placed higher if he showed up 100% for the prejudging too. And Rubiel is also aiming for a top 10 finish. So Akim this time, he's gonna be shooting for probably that same bracket. Now I personally think Akim Williams hasn't been judged fairly in many instances. But let me know what you guys think. Akim versus Rubiel, who is gonna place higher? So how many of you guys agree that the bigger bicep peaks, they make a massive difference in that front double bicep pose? So let's have a look at one of the biggest rising talent in classic physique division, Justin Badurina, and some people out there call him the next Chris Bumstead. That is because of the similarities between Justin and Cbum, especially in terms of the structure and also in terms of weaknesses that Cbum also had when he was young. So just imagine Justin with more peaky biceps. The whole pose is gonna become so much more dangerous. But kind of too bad. Many of these things, they are kind of dependent on the genetics aspect. So that right there might be the biggest hamstrings drop in the entire classic physique division at the moment. And I'm gonna go back to that same point when it comes to his back too. Everything looks tremendously improved compared to last year. And the only thing that's holding him back, that is the back double biceps, which was the case with Chris Bumstead too when he was up and coming. The arms just aren't as good as the rest of his physique. But then again, Chris Bumstead absolutely dominated that division, and even his coach and brother-in-law, Ian Valier, he always said that Chris had those shitty arms. So I do think that Justin has a lot of similarities with Chris Bumstead, and the volume that he was kind of missing on his legs last year, that is gonna be so much improved when he steps on the Olympia stage this time. So the best thing that Justin did, that was to do a show immediately after the Olympia last year, and he earned his Olympia spot for this year very early. So this will be a totally different and a new look by him this time, and all in a very good way. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.